picture, but you know this computer, so you
I
can
know.
go ahead and click it. So that's the order for our first 3 presentations today. Okay, all right. Take it away.
So, for my senior project, I worked at the, actually that's wrong, I worked for the campaign of Congressman Sam Liccardo. There's a pretty big difference between the office and the campaign. That's something that I kind of wanted to say. So I worked for the campaign. The campaign is specifically what he's doing. Most of it is fundraising. That was basically the entirety of my project. And then the office is more of the legislative stuff, even some of the lobbying, just some of the stuff that actually, like that, the office sometimes goes back to Washington, D.C. The campaign almost never does that. And they're totally separate. They have their own, they have their own websites, they have their own, ways of paying people. They're pretty separate for every single congressman. So, about the job, so I work for the campaign. He is the main guy for fundraising big tech in Congress. Even though he is this is his first term, basically just process of elimination. A lot of the other people in this area are either old or dying or both. I wish I was joking, I really am not. Ro Khanna is, he is not sharing any of his money right now. And so he's just kind of by process of elimination, he is the guy that if you want to tap into that big Silicon Valley market for donors, he's basically the guy to do that. So because of that, he's going to be in the future streamlined into congressional leadership. So that's pretty cool that I get the chance to work with him now. Well, he's sort of in the beginning of his long career. There's a lot, the main job of the Liccardo campaign is to raise money because the district is D plus 26. That basically means that unless he chooses to run, he has a huge scandal, or he dies, he's going to remain in this position for the rest of his life, almost certainly. So he's raising money for other congressional Democrats. On June 21st, the DCCC, so that is the quarterly big fundraising party that the Democrats do. They do 4 every 2 years. They're doing it on 2-year cycles. That is going to be in June in San Francisco with Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, Nancy Pelosi, the former speaker, and then Sam Liccardo. So those are the 3 people that are going to be doing most of the hosting, most of the coordinating, and that's really cool because he's already up with people that are, the top of the top for congressional Democratic leadership. So why did I work here? So if you know me, you know I love politics. I feel like this is something that most people know. Thank you, Dad. I want to sort of explore the different aspects of the political landscape. I know I've been into policy for a while, but a lot of policy teams don't really have sort of opportunities for teens to get involved in that sense. I asked a bunch of different offices and I got no response from any of them. It's just kind of the way things go. Kurt, shout out to Kurt. We love Kurt. He's doing political consulting. He's pretty great. He connected me to this guy, Josiah. She's working for them in the summer, so that's pretty cool. And then, so Jamie Raskin, a Democrat from Maryland, he has this thing called Democracy Summer. It's a program where they get teens involved. They get speakers talking to the teens. They have sort of workshops where they can learn about the functions of democracy. And hey, in addition, the teens also do a bunch of labor and fundraising for the Democrats. So that's sort of the opportunity that I got. But instead, I didn't get paid because it was a couple months early. So that's pretty awesome. So what did I do? So like I said, he is the big donor guy. So there was the donor birthday project. That's basically where he gave me a list of donors, and then I need to find them on this database. I need to find their birthday, and then I log in their birthday, just so we know their birthdays, and then Sam or some staffer can write each person an individualized note on their birthday to make them feel special. When they feel special, they go, okay, I'm more likely to get money now. There was a lot of contacting executive assistants and chiefs of staffs to sort of reach high net worth individuals. So I did it for Larry Ellison, and then also Jensen Wong. I know these are like, you know, people worth like 60 to $100 billion, sort of trying to get on their radar, so that they can also give. I identified Bay Area executives at companies worth over $1 billion as potential donors. I prepared and mailed letters to donors, basically saying thank you for donating and maybe donate a little more. And then I created donor bios just so that Sam likes to cold call them, basically just sits in an office for like 4 or 5 hours, goes down a list of donors to cold call, and you know, the fact that he like knows who they are and a little bit about them and what issues matter to them, that's really important when you're trying to make a connection and then ask them for money. Yeah, so some other cool things. Congressman Ro Khanna, we shared the office with Congressman Ro Khanna, and I never met Sam, but I did meet Ro Khanna, which is pretty cool. He was in there a few times. And then also just learning how to get money out of people. That was a pretty consistent theme throughout it. The main thing is just make them feel special, make them feel like they're not, you know, on a long list of people that you want money out of, even though they are. And then, so I just wanted to show you like sort of a sample of the like donor bio. It's on an app called Numero. I'm not trying to dox any billion-dollar people, so this is me. Right here, there will usually be notes of like if Sam called the donor. It's like notes of what happened during the call, during the meeting. There will be a bio, basically giving like life and career story. Notes here about any strong political positions, if they're married to anyone or have connections to anybody. Email, phone number, address, and then according to FEC law, every election cycle, you're only allowed, if you and your partner are an American citizen, you're allowed to donate $24,000 max every election cycle. I do not have that type of money, so I have not donated to them. All right, yeah, cool. So, what did I learn? I learned a lot of FEC law. That was a pretty big thing. Thank you. So also, not only are our politicians old, so are the main people that donate a majority of the money. The like median age of the donors was somewhere between 70 and 80 years old. So I think it, you know, it shows exactly who's like running the business in politics, and maybe gives a little bit to an explanation of why, you know, our leaders in Congress are, you know, not representative of the American population, especially in terms of age. So another thing, fun open secrets in the California political world. Every once in a while, I'd just be walking around, and then my boss Josiah would drop some random, I guess, like gossip, but it feels a little more like gossip because it's like who's running and when, and that felt pretty cool. Effective ways of fundraising, so like birthday project, just making donors feel really, really special. There's a lot of like there was talk about visiting a woman in her late 80s, early 90s, and a big thing that they said was, before you go, give Sam a big bouquet of flowers, so that when he shows up, he gives the lady a big bouquet of flowers, and all of a sudden she's a lot more warmed up to him because of courtesy and whatnot. Real life conversations about the direction of the Democratic Party. Like Ro Khanna was around the office, and so were a bunch of political consultants. That was just really cool, just hearing these conversations just firsthand. How to get started in a campaign, and how spontaneous it could be. So my boss, Josiah, he's only about 23, 24, 25. He's very young. And he told me, like, yeah, he's like one of the leads in the campaign for a rising star in the Democratic Party. And just like 2 years ago, he was just some like college grad in the Congress, or not even congressman's yet, in Sam's kitchen. And they were like, okay, we're gonna run. And then they got $500,000 from Michael Bloomberg, and next thing you know, he's working he's working as a fundraising campaign for a rising star in the Democratic Party. The realism of politics, there's a lot of Republican and even some members of the American Independent Party donating to Sam Liccardo because he is seen as sort of the moderate, especially because he was running against Evan Lowe, who framed himself as more of a progressive. So just like the realism and strategy of politics both, and that just like having Republicans and more conservatives still donate to a Democrat because, I guess, lesser of two evils, but also the money in politics. I know that I know that Sam, as the tech fundraiser, this is not representative of Congress as a whole, but it still struck me just how much, and I was doing fundraising, but like it still struck me just how much money and like big money and tech money was involved. I know people talk about like the bro-oligarchy and how that helped Donald Trump win the 2024 election. Another thing that really struck me is that he's raising money from the same people that Trump raised money from. So Larry Ellison, Mark Andreessen, Ben Horowitz, the Winklevoss twins, all of them donated millions and millions of dollars to the Trump campaign. They've donated a couple thousand to Sam each. So it's very interesting to sort of see both the same people that are funding what the Trump campaign is doing, and also him. And to be honest, it made me feel a little bleak on the inside, but you know. It also made me wonder how really for like the working class Sam Liccardo really is, if he's, you know, going to the same people that Trump has been going to, welcoming into our tent, and then framing it as this is the only way to beat Donald Trump. It feels a little iffy, but overall, I learned a lot of great things, you know, definitely a little concerning things, but you know, this is politics. And yeah, I'm really, really grateful for my time, and that's my project. Yes.
So who's running and when?
Yeah, that was my question. Yeah, anything you can share about those California, the open secrets in the California political world?
I've been kind of loose-lipped, like interpersonally. I don't think it's like a good idea to say it in front of all of you when multiple people are filming me.
You want me to turn the camera off?
No, he's a future politician right there.
Yeah.
You have my number.
Would you prefer to work for Evan Lowe?
That's a good question. There was never a chance of Evan Lowe actually winning that seat.
Yeah,
That was something I learned pretty early on, that it was a really, really like dirty and like intense campaign for something that really was never gonna be close. That was something that I learned pretty early on. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but also it's just like not realistic in this political landscape.
How much, like state level politics or campaigning overlap with your job, since it seems to have more of a national bent? Or is there any distinguishment when you're talking about fundraising and campaigning? Is it all the same?
No, this is
donors.
I don't even think there was talk about the U.S. Senate. This was very, very hyper-focused.
Okay.
In, just on the House.
Okay.
Jeffries, Pelosi, Liccardo, Ro Khanna. There's a little bit of talk of who's going to run for governor. If you want to put two and two together, I'll let you do with that information. But, yeah, no, there really wasn't much talk about state level office.
Well, also just look at it a little bit, because the state level is, they term out, and then they usually then head to the U.S. House. So I was just curious about if you noticed anything.
A lot of the areas around here are really safely blue, which means that the incumbent kind of has the job until they die.
In terms of compiling the database of potential donors and things, what was with whatever you can share with the entity, what is the sort of intriguing or interesting either policy preferences, policy positions, or personal sorts of like courtesies, like the flower incident that
Yeah.
you were recording?
That's a good question. There were a lot of interesting people on the list. I forgot to mention this, but like Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, was on there. Noah Rockhine's dad was on there. Lots of like random tech billionaires. Larry Ellison is a member of the American Independent Party, which is interesting. Not all that surprising, but you know, for reference, the American Independent Party is like even more to the right than the Republican Party. They were the party that ran George Wallace on a segregation ticket. So, you know, and they're still around for some reason. Yeah. All right. Thank you.